I got you the top 5 performing ADCs at Diamond Plus ranked. Now, this is going to be a combination of stats from literal win rates and also from my experience playing at Masters Plus ranked. It's a very interesting list. I did not expect quite a few gods on this list to be performing as strong as they are. And that's why it's extra fun to look at those statistics to see who was doing well. Number 5 is actually a god that makes sense for her performance levels, even though she's a historically not played god at like an SPL level. She has always outperformed at a casual ranked level. And that first character is going to be Izanami in the number 5 slot. Izanami will basically always be a strong hunter in a casual ranked setting because of the snowball. The ability to clear the wave as fast as she does makes it so that the enemy duo lane is basically out of the game for like the first 15 minutes or so. And even at highest levels of ranks, even at Diamond Plus, she still performs very, very well. It's really into like the SPL territory where usually she starts to get bullied because she doesn't have like a CC immune ulti and stuff. But in ranked, oftentimes it just comes down to if you win lane, that's basically it for you and your partner, right? Like if you win dual lane, congrats, your ADC and your support ahead. Now you've already got 2 people ahead. So it makes sense that Izanami is performing really well because she does have that pressure, which means she probably gets the first shield buff unless you get a jungle rotation, which means you're already putting pressure on the enemy team to rotate. Otherwise, she gets the free shield buff, which is free XP, and then she comes back to lane, free pushes, gets the next shield buff over and over again. That gets her a gold lead. That gets her an XP lead. Now she can rotate to the first 12-minute totem spawn. Now you've got an extra person at the team fight, and you can see how that effect snowballs very, 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 very fast because of her clear. And, of course, she also has the opportunity to split push in the late game. She's got that built-in penetration, which makes her extra good in this, like, heavier tank meta, and then she's got a fantastic stim. So it does make sense that she ends up in the top 5, but down there at that number 5 slot. The number 4 ADC is one that I'm seeing picked more and more and more in ranked, and he's a character that casually typically gets made fun of because people don't want to play him because they're like, his ultimate doesn't do any damage, so that means he's not any good, and that is Shiba Lanka. Shiba Lanka is wrecking at high level ranked gameplay. And that is because of that ultimate that doesn't do any damage. And it makes sense why in a casual level, people wouldn't like him as much compared to a higher ranked tier level, because that communication aspect gets stronger as you go high up in the ranks. Your ability to work together goes higher up in the ranks. It becomes less about your individual performance and more about your team performance. And Shiba Lanka is a team fight based character. Him being able to turn out the lights for 3 seconds is 3 seconds of your assassin being able to dive the backline without peel, 3 seconds of everybody positioning, 3 seconds of not knowing what HP the fire giant is at so they can't get stolen or secured. A lot of different possibilities there. And I want to throw out, with the Shiba Lanka, even though it is not a Transcendence meta right now, and historically Transcendence metas are much better for Shiba Lanka, because there's mana on items like Dominance, and you even have the option to go like an early Death Toll if you really needed to, it does help with the Branching Bola mana cost, and his Branching Bolas plus the Dead of the Night power stacks means he has some of the hardest hitting ADC autos in the game as well. So if you haven't played Shiba Lanka in a while, I would recommend it. He's actually very good in the Hunter 1v1. For a Hunter that doesn't have a hard CC, he outperforms a lot in the Hunter 1v1, and the Branching Bolas is surprisingly good clear. Now, number 3, this is an ADC that I think we all knew was going to be on this list. This ADC has been doing absolutely fantastic for a long time now, performing at very high levels. Didn't quite make it into the top 2 because there's actually 2 other hunters that are doing even better than that, and that is going to be a Hachiman. Hachiman, very, very, maybe actually the default hunter at this point. Hachiman is almost in every single duo lane. Not quite a ban because nobody's really banning ADCs except for one ADC. Other than that, they pretty much all get through because people are focused on like Raven ban, Thor ban, all that kind of stuff. But Hachi, since his buffs, very difficult to 1v1 into. He's got a CC immune ultimate. That is a slow. Got CC and good damage. He's got a stun, which for a hunter 1v1 is just really hard to beat if you don't have another hard CC. It's why Anher is oftentimes a counter pick into him. He tries to dash, you impale him, you stop the dash, and you can try to stun him back. Pretty good counter pick right there for you, although Anher not a top 5 ADC, but he is a good counter pick to Hachi, so keep that in mind. Heavenly Banner gives himself attack speed twice if he's standing in it, plus it gives his allies attack speed, which is a very good team ability for burning objectives. Being able to combine this with like a Wheelix jungle who really does like those auto attacks and the objectives, or even like a Poseidon middle who can utilize the trident. Really good team fight ability for taking down the Gold Fury, Fire Giant, Pyro, all of that kind of stuff. And then of course, Eagle Eye. You can hit the ADC from longer than they can hit you. That's a hard sell. End of the game, poking the wave, poking players under Phoenixes and tower, or defending your Phoenix, having longer range, being able to position while still auto-attacking. He's been one of the best hunters in the game for a long time. He will continue to be one of the best hunters in the game as long as his kit has as much of the stuff in it as he does. Now, number 2 was very surprising to me, because this person is not picked as much as you would think for them being this high up in the win rate. But it's also, I think, because they are typically a god that you want to pair with a support that you know how to play with, because they are liable to get ganked, particularly pre-level 5. They have a hard time living through gank, so you got to watch out for that early jungle gank. And it's going to be the only mage that made our top 5 list, and that is Freya. Freya's performance numbers are through the roof right now, which is interesting because not a lot of the other magical ADCs are doing as strong. Oleron is doing okay depending at the level of gameplay. Funny enough, Oleron's actually doing better at lower level ranked than higher level ranked. And Kronos is performing decently, but he's doing actually more gameplay in mid and solo than he's getting over in the ADC role. Freya has a couple of positives that she does bring to the table. One, she is one of the best hunter 1v1ers in the game. Hunter, you know, she's a mage, but she's an ADC. She is one of the better 1v1ers in the game. She has really, really thick autos, like larger than normal hunter autos, which means that you can hit people easier, so you get more consistent damage output. Her pulse plus her irradiate is going to out damage a hunter that doesn't go a crit build 10 out of 10 times, and crit builds are not really meta right now, which means that she basically always wins the hunter 1v1. She has banish, which is her setup ability to get in range, and the rings for Freya are actually working very well right now. Because of all those power changes that happened, you know, a couple of months ago, the rings weren't massive power items to begin with. And Freya doesn't really need the rings for power. She wants it for the attack speed. So her ring build specifically on Freya is actually working quite well right now to help her get out that base damage from the pulse and from the irradiate. Also, if you're having some problems with Freya with her early clear, I actually recommend grabbing the conduit gem at level 1. Conduit gem, not as great as the arrow at level 20, but Freya at level 20 is already fantastic, so you don't really need to worry about that. Conduit gem will proc on her pulse and give you way better clear in the lane and help you get through those early stages where she tends to struggle a little bit more and be a little bit more susceptible. And finally, number 1, this one's not really a contention. This is arguably the number 1 character in mid as well. This character, I think, was number 3 on our mid-tier list because they just have one of the strongest kits ever put into Smite. In terms of modern characters, this is basically as strong as modern characters get in Smite, and that is going to be Marty. Now, there's an argument to be made that Marty is a better mid laner than he is an ADC at a competitive level. From a ranked perspective, the reason why I've got Marty higher in the ADC role than the mid role is because of getting your physical and magical damage on your team in ranked. Let's be real. People don't communicate in ranked on average. On average, nobody's going to be talking to each other, and if they are, they're going to be saying, you rock, cancel that. which means if you pick a physical mid laner in ranked, while Marty is fantastic in mid lane, you would like to get a magical damage dealer elsewhere, like a Freya ADC. Chances are that's not going to happen, and now you've got 4 physicals and 1 magical, which is a guardian support, and they just build all physical defense, and you go ahead and get wrecked. Because of that, Marty is slightly a better ADC than he is a mid laner for the ranked scene, because it is the normal damage and the normal role where you expect it, because nobody's looking at any other picks at the team. They're not looking for any team synergy. They're just going to go, I'm going to play this god this game, and I'm playing this god this game no matter what because I want to. It's just how ranked works in Smite. It is what it is. So why is Marty so dumb? A lot of it honestly comes down to the way his passive works with Soul Eater. Marty gets huge percents of lifesteal in his kit. Plus, you pair that with Soul Eater, which also gives you ability lifesteal, which means that once you start getting this stacked and you get your Soul Eater stacked, when you use your 1 and your 2 combo, which both have crazy base damage and scalings on them, you're going to full heal off of a jungle camp, you're going to full heal off the mid wave, you're going to full heal off of an enemy god hit, you're going to full heal all the time. Which means that the big counter to Marty is really going to be making sure you have anti-heal on him at all times. And basically nobody builds anti-heal against Marty in ranked unless they're building it against somebody else on the team, because you have a Afro, because you have a Hel, because you have a Guan Yu, whatever. Then they'll build the anti-heal, but nobody thinks about building the anti-heal against the Marty, who actually has one of the highest. He's basically, I compared him earlier today actually to Hades. You should think about them in the same way. Hades sees a wave, he's back at 100% HP. Marty sees a wave, he's back at 100% HP, and Marty also gets to run that very specific power hunter build, Transcendence Soul Eater's Bluestones, which has a very strong start because of the Bluestone. Drops off a little bit in the middle of the game because it's not quite full build, and then at the end of the game comes right back online and just decimates again. Once you get that Bluestone finish, you got your Crusher online, you got proc damage on proc damage on proc damage, and you're good. You're 1 over the wall. I legitimately will do like 50% of a squishy's health, and it's going to be on like 8-second cooldown or something, and you can just throw it out whenever you want, which gives him just dummy pressure in lane, dummy pressure around objectives. Arguably the best, not arguably, it's probably the best hunter at defending Phoenixes and aggressing on Phoenixes, because he can actually poke from that super long range. It's basically like if Hachi just did more damage with his 1. Same exact concept there, and that's why Marty is the best ADC in the game, bringing your total list of top 5 performing ADCs at high level ranked right now. Izzy number 5 because of Snowball. X-Ball number 4 because of his team fight potential with his ultimate. 3, Hachi because of everything that Hachi does. 2, Freya, largely because of her 1v1 potential, which allows your team to have the 5v4 and her ability to get very far ahead because of that. And then, of course, Marty, because he doesn't have any negatives to his kit. Very fast, CC immune, untargetable ult, huge range damage, huge burst, huge consistent damage, huge lifesteal. The only negative that he has is that he's a big, thick boy, but it doesn't matter if you're a big, thick boy if you're healing with every ability combo, guys. So that's your top 5 performing ADCs right now at Diamond plus ranked. Diamond plus ranked, Diamond plus ranked. You know? Crazy. Where would I put Artemis? I would say that Artemis is more of a counter pick ADC. If you were like a 4th, 5th pick ADC, you could get away with an Artemis if it was into the right composition. If it was into the right composition, you could get away with it. But you have to be careful because she has like a lot of super hard counter picks that will ruin your day. So if you're like a 1st, 2nd pick, locking in the Artemis is not advisable. You know, you gotta be putting yourself at a major disadvantage if you lock in an ADC Artemis that early, because there just are so many things that do so well against her. Why isn't Ishtar getting more love? Ishtar got nerfed quite a few times. She is still a good and viable hunter, but she doesn't have quite the the bang for her buck that she used to. She also really likes crit builds because of the way that crit works with her 1-2 combo. When she does that AoE arrow, she gets the crits on all of them. So she would prefer actually a crit build meta, and we're not really in a crit build meta right now. A lot of the hunters that you can see mentioned, Shiba Lanka loves an attack speed style build. Izanami loves attack speed style builds. Hachi, ADC style, but he loves the Xe Kins build, which is popular right now. Freya, of course, doesn't build any of those items. And then Marty is the exception to the rule by doing that full power build. But you can see kind of the theme that Devos, Xe Kins, like the people that are the best at that, because those are the best ADC items right now, tend to be the best hunters. A lot of the times, the items that are the best in the meta tend to force gods to be the best. Does that make sense? Solo laners right now, most of the best solo laners are gods that can proper utilize items like Bluestone and Glad Shield. So it's not that Bologna is a bad character. It's that the items that are stat bloated and are better don't work so much on like an Osiris than they do on a Wukong. So Wukong goes through the roof because all of the items that he wants to buy are better than the items that Osiris wants to buy. They're just better, right? So a lot of the times the builds and the items that are just straight up better than other items for their cost value force you into certain gods. Xe Kins builds for hunters means that certain gods don't like that as much. Gladiators, Bluestone's over in solo. Like Book of Thoth isn't so good in the mid lane, so it kind of shifts you away from gods that, like to use the Book of Thoth. Bancrofts isn't, so good that he used to. You don't really play all the Bancrofts in the middle. So what are you building? You're building like Warlocks or maybe a Doom Orb. So what does that mean for the mid lane? It means in the mid lane, you're building gods that can use Doom Orb to go fast, right? Maybe you're doing a Poseidon or you're doing a Shelly or a Baron, gods that like want to get a little bit of movement speed. Or you're just building somebody thick that wants themselves a Warlock sash, right? Once again, those more immobile mid laners that tend to do more damage, but they're immobile, right? So in a Book of Thoth meta where everybody can do a bunch of damage, you could pick a safer character. But right now, people are picking the more damage-oriented mid lane characters that are a little bit less safe, and then building them a little bit safer. Sometimes you even see a Breastplate of Valor in a mid lane build. So those builds kind of work into the characters to make them like that, if that makes sense. Now, some characters are just so strong that it doesn't even matter, but like Raven, regardless of kind of the atomization right now, like Raven would do really well. Raven is OP because he got buffed, right? And then the items that he wanted became better at the same time. Then he got nerfed down a little bit, but he's still stronger than he was, and the items that he likes are still stronger than they were. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.